Respect isn't earned by begging for attention, because the moment you chase someone's approval, you tell them you don't believe you're worth it without their validation. You hand them power. You let them decide your value. You let them shape your confidence. And that's exactly how people lose respect before they ever get it. Anyone you have to convince to see your worth will never see it, because the second you try to impress them, you become lower than their expectations. Respect isn't given to those who appear desperate. It's given to those who are so focused on building themselves that they don't care who's watching. The truth is simple. Zuckerberg, people might like you when you seek attention, but they only respect you when you stop needing it. When you beg for attention, you make your identity negotiable. You allow other people to decide if you're important. You stand there waiting for validation instead of creating something valuable enough to speak for itself. Most people destroy their potential trying to get the wrong eyes on them. They want applause before effort, praise before progress, admiration before results. They're hungry for recognition, but not hungry enough to earn it. Respect is not a product you buy with effort. It's a consequence of who you become. And no amount of talking can replace what consistent work makes undeniable. Chasing attention is a trap because it turns you into someone who adjusts themselves to be accepted instead of becoming someone to be admired. You start mirroring others' expectations, lowering your standards, and diluting your ambition just to be liked. But liked doesn't mean respected. Attention feels good in the moment, but it doesn't build legacy. People clap for entertainment. They bow for achievement. The world respects those who show discipline, confidence, and resilience, not those who beg to be seen. The irony is, the moment you stop trying to get attention is exactly when you start receiving respect. When you focus on mastering a skill, building a future, controlling your decisions, and staying disciplined, people start paying attention without you having to ask. They notice your growth, they notice your becoming, they notice your direction, not because you begged for it, but because your work forces them to. Respect isn't something you pursue like a reward. It's something you attract like gravity when you grow strong enough. And here's the real test. Can you still stand tall when no one is clapping for you yet? Can you keep working when no one seems to care? That's where the foundation of respect is built. Those who demand attention early crumble later because they never built anything real. Those who remain silent and keep building end up being remembered, admired, and respected because they didn't need applause to stay committed. Never chase respect. Become someone worth respecting. The only time respect follows you is when you no longer need it to validate your identity. When your focus is on becoming valuable, the world can't ignore you because results speak a language that no one can deny. Respect isn't earned by demanding attention, chasing validation, or begging people to see your worth. It is earned by becoming the kind of person others cannot afford to ignore. The problem is, too many people confuse loudness with value. They think if they keep talking, explaining, proving, or defending themselves, someone will finally treat them right. But the world doesn't reward noise. It rewards results. The ones who get respected are not the ones yelling, "See me," but the ones who quietly build a life that forces everyone to notice. If you need to argue for respect, it already means you don't have it. Respect is not a speech, it's evidence. Look at the people who dominate industries, lead companies, and command rooms without raising their voices. They walk in and the atmosphere changes. They don't need to explain who they are because their achievements speak louder than any words ever could. They don't waste energy chasing applause because they're too busy winning. That's what the average person doesn't understand. You don't need to win arguments. You need to win in life. And when you win, you don't have to force anyone to understand you. Your results become your logic. Your actions become your statement. Your life becomes your argument. But people love excuses. They say, No one respects me. Yet they invest their time trying to convince people who never believed in them from the beginning. They think if they can explain their pain, their hard work, or their intentions clearly enough, others will care. But respect isn't built on explanations. Nobody respects potential. They respect performance. Nobody respects your struggle. They respect what your struggle turns into. If your struggle leads to nothing, then that's exactly what you get, nothing. Respect comes from being undeniable. It comes from being too competent to be ignored, too disciplined to be doubted, too consistent to be dismissed. If someone doesn't understand your silence, they'll never understand your words. Don't waste your breath on the wrong audience. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need the right people to recognize your value. Not all attention is respect, and not everyone who hears you is listening. Some people are too small minded to understand your direction, too insecure to acknowledge your growth, too threatened to admit your worth. That's why success requires selective silence, not weakness, not surrender. Silence with purpose, silence that works while others talk, silence that creates results. When you stop arguing and start producing, you step into a different league. The loud get reactions, but the accomplished get respect. The quiet achievers aren't silent because they can't speak. They're silent because they don't need to. You don't earn respect by saying more. You earn it by becoming more. And the day you stop asking to be respected and start becoming someone impossible to disrespect, that's the day the world stops ignoring you. Your value will speak. Your work will shout, and your results will demand the respect your words never could. Respect isn't about being liked, praised, or welcomed by everyone. Respect is born from understanding, the kind of understanding that doesn't need to be spoken, begged for, or defended. Too many people chase approval from those who don't even care enough to understand them. They waste their time explaining their dreams to people who have no intention of ever believing in them. But here's the truth. You can't force a small mind to understand a big vision. You can't make someone with no ambition understand your hunger. And you can't convince someone who's comfortable with average to respect your desire to be great. Respect is not for those who ignore you. It's for those who take the time to understand who you are becoming. Most people want respect at a discount. They want to stay the same and still be admired. They want comfort, consistency, and validation while asking the world to honor them like warriors. But respect is expensive. It requires change, sacrifice, growth, and most importantly, clarity. Clarity of who you are, what you want, and what you're building. If you don't understand yourself, why should anyone else understand you? If you doubt your own vision, why should anyone support it? Respect begins with your own self-respect. When you begin to truly understand yourself, that's when you stop tolerating people who misjudge you, underestimate you, or ignore you. Because you know who you are, not based on words, but on the future you're building. The reason most people never get the respect they want is simple. They keep proving themselves to people who don't matter. They want understanding from the wrong crowd. They want acknowledgement from those who are not even worth their attention. You don't need the whole world to understand you. You just need the right circle. The right people don't need explanations. They recognize your focus, your discipline, and your drive. They see your effort, not for what it is today, but for where it's going to take you. And those are the people who respect you without being asked. Those are the ones who stand with you, not because of what they see now, but because they understand what you're becoming. Respect grows in environments where understanding exists. You can speak to 1,000 people and still remain unheard, yet say nothing to the right one, and they'll understand everything. That's the difference. Respect flows naturally where minds are aligned. When someone truly understands you, they don't ignore you, they don't belittle your vision, and they don't ask you to justify your passion. They support your silence because they can see the fire behind it. You don't fight for respect. You find the people who can understand your journey. You stop shouting at closed minds and start working with those who get it. You don't argue for recognition. You earn it through clarity, consistency, and growth. Respect isn't for everyone. It's for those who understand what you are building, even when it's invisible to the rest of the world. You don't earn respect by forcing people to see your value. You earn it by living in a way that makes your value undeniable. People spend too much time trying to convince others they matter, explaining their intentions, defending their decisions, or begging to be noticed. But the strongest individuals don't fight for attention. They don't explain themselves to those who won't listen. They don't chase validation from people who don't care. They let their actions speak, and their results do the talking. Respect is never demanded. It's commanded by the consistency of your behavior and the discipline of your choices. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself, everything shifts. Silence becomes your power. Focus becomes your weapon. Execution becomes your voice. You stop wasting time on people who don't pay attention, and you invest that energy into becoming someone they can't ignore. You don't argue. You don't beg. You don't justify, because you know that your future accomplishments will speak louder than any explanation you could give today. Real respect comes when you show, not when you tell. It comes when you stop chasing people and start chasing excellence. People ignore you when they believe nothing significant is happening in your life. That's how the world works. No one cheers for a seed. They only respect the tree. No one applauds a blueprint. They respect the skyscraper. But the seed doesn't argue. The seed doesn't explain what it will become. It grows silently. It breaks the ground quietly. And eventually, it stands tall where everyone can see it. That is how respect works. You grow in silence, and when you finally rise, no one can deny what you've become. If someone ignores you today, let them. If they don't understand you today, let them remain confused. You were not created to be understood by everyone, and your journey is not meant to be approved by the crowd. Respect isn't earned through explanations. It's earned through evolution. When you grow, the right people recognize it without needing a speech. When you execute, the right people acknowledge it without requiring your defense. When you succeed, even those who ignored you will have no choice but to notice. So stop worrying about who sees you. Stop explaining your path. Stop trying to convince people of your worth. Focus on your growth, your discipline, your mission. The ones meant to understand you will never ignore you. The ones who ignore you were never meant to understand you. And once your results start speaking, the same people who avoided you will suddenly respect you, not because you demanded it, but because you became someone impossible to overlook. Respect isn't for those who ignore who you are today. It's for those who will understand who you are becoming tomorrow. Let your growth make the noise, and let your success deliver the explanation. Respect doesn't come from being surrounded by people. It comes from being surrounded by the right people. There are individuals who overlook you not because you aren't worthy, but because they don't have the capacity to recognize value unless it benefits them directly. These are the type of people who only understand someone once the world has already validated them. They only respect success when success becomes visible. They don't understand vision, effort, discipline, or sacrifice. They only understand results. But here's the truth. You don't need those people to respect you now. You need to become someone who makes them regret ever ignoring you. When you build yourself, the people who truly understand you won't need proof. They won't need you to justify your dreams or defend your decisions. They'll recognize your commitment, support your growth, and encourage your progress even when nothing has blossomed yet. They can see the tree in the seed. They respect the effort long before the harvest arrives. These people aren't impressed by temporary noise. They're impressed by a disciplined silence. They don't need to see the spotlight to believe in your potential. On the other hand, there are those who laugh at your beginnings, doubt your process, and ignore your focus. They assume your silence is weakness because they expect noise, announcements, bragging, and proof. But they don't realize that silent progress is the most dangerous kind. Silent growth is unpredictable. Silent ambition is unstoppable. When you grow quietly, no one knows what you're capable of until it's too late to doubt you. And when your results finally appear, the same people who ignored you will pretend they understood you from the start. They'll claim they always knew you were different, but you'll know the truth. They only respect you now because they can finally see what they were too blind to understand. The world respects what it cannot ignore. That's why your mission is not to convince, or mission is to build. Because when you build, the right people stay, the wrong people disappear, and the world will eventually recognize what you've created. You don't need crowds to support your journey. You need a circle that matches your ambition, a circle that understands your silence, a circle that respects your potential even before it becomes visible. Stop longing for respect from those who don't understand you. If someone doesn't get where you're going, it means their path is too small to align with yours. If someone ignores your effort, it means they've never built something worth respecting. Respect grows where minds are aligned and where values match. And the moment you realize that you stop chasing acceptance and start selecting your circle wisely, you will be respected by the people who understand your struggle, your discipline, your patience, and your purpose, not by those who need the world to validate you first. So choose understanding over popularity, quality over quantity, and purpose over approval. Because in the end, respect is never about being recognized by many. It's about being valued by the right few. You will never be respected by pretending to be someone you're not. Respect comes when you stop hiding your truth, stop shrinking your potential, and stop toning down your ambition just to make others comfortable. Too many people walk through life begging to be accepted, adjusting their personality to fit in, apologizing for their goals, and softening their mindset to avoid criticism. They want to be understood, yet they betray their own identity just to be liked. But there's a simple rule: if you change who you are just so others understand you, you're not earning respect, you're losing it. Real respect begins when you stop trying to be understood by everyone and start being honest about who you really are. When you stand firm in your values, speak only with purpose, and move with conviction, the right people will recognize you. People don't respect weakness disguised as politeness. They don't respect someone who sacrifices their mission just to avoid judgment. Respect is born from authenticity, and authenticity demands courage. It demands that you stop begging for approval and start living your truth without apology. When you are unapologetically you, the world may not understand you immediately, but eventually it won't be able to ignore you. Most people are not misunderstood. They are misrepresented by their own fear of owning their uniqueness. They hide their dreams because they think they're too big. They silence their vision because they fear being laughed at. They lower their standards because they worry about being judged. But here's the reality. People are going to judge you whether you play small or think big, whether you follow the crowd or lead your own path. So why shrink? Why silence your fire to make others feel comfortable in their mediocrity? Your mission isn't to be liked by everyone. Your mission is to become someone who doesn't need anyone's permission to rise. When you commit to being yourself, loud or silent, bold or reserved, visionary or misunderstood, you begin attracting the people who truly see you, not the ones who are only comfortable with your weaknesses, but the ones who respect your strength, not the ones who love you when you're small, but the ones who value you as you grow. Those people don't demand explanations. They don't ask you to be less. They understand your passion without needing proof, and they respect your silence because they can see the purpose behind it. Respect is not given to the loudest voice in the room. It's given to the person who doesn't waver. Respect doesn't go to the one who tries to fit in. It goes to the one who stands out without begging for acceptance. So stop adjusting your identity for people who aren't even meant to walk your path. Stop lowering your standards to make others feel comfortable. Stop hiding your dreams so you don't look too ambitious. The right people will understand you without explanation. The wrong ones could hear 1,000 explanations and still not respect you. Be yourself without apologizing. That is where respect begins.